As the Afcon comes to an end, Ivory Coast are crowned the 2023 Afcon champions, joining Egypt in 2016 as the host to actually eventually win the tournament. The tournament that has seen many of us Rebona as an underdog tournament. A tournament where it is the first time in history that in the top four, not a single top 5 ranked team, according to FIFA, has made it to the semi-finals. Bafana have not won the cup, but have won so many of South African hearts. We speak about that on the Soccer Huddle. Welcome to the Soccer Huddle. This is your boy Mojere. It's just an ordinary guy discussing the beautiful game, discussing Kweliamautu. Today I want us to reflect on what has been a beautiful and spectacular tournament go Ivory Coast. As many of us thought Senegal would regain the reins, many of us thought Morocco, as they went to the semi-finals, they went toe-to-toe with one of the biggest teams, one of the biggest countries in the world, beating the likes of Spain, beating the likes of Portugal in the World Cup, go Qatar. Many of us thought they come into this tournament as favorite and would eventually win the tournament. Some of us thought the Egyptian would be the reigning champions, or not reigning, would be the reigning champions, as they've won the tournament more than any other club or any other country in Africa. Some would have thought 2 years or 2 editions back, winners Algeria would also come and regain that crown as well, but it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. We've seen a goal from Bebe, a beautiful free kick from Bebe, where we saw the underdogs rising up in the tournament. Equatorial Guinea pulling off the biggest upset of all, beating the host country 4-0 in the final group stage of the group. And we saw South Africa coming into this tournament as now in the tournament where their own country never had their back. So much so that today, or on Tuesday and tonight, Wednesday, the PSL is supposed to be back. So they didn't think South Africa would actually make it to the final. That's why they scheduled those fixtures today. But Bafana, as they are called, surprised many, beating the semi-final at the Qatar World Cup, Morocco 2-0 to clinch that quarterfinal spot. And it has been a beautiful tournament for South Africa. I would like to speak about Bafana, and I know there's other countries that did well. As I said, Cape Verde, for me, were one of the brilliant teams in the tournament. Equatorial Guinea, if you listen to the Soccer Huddle, I've said I would have loved Equatorial Guinea and Cape Verde to be the last 4 in the tournament, because for me, they've played some beautiful football. They've shown us that from humble beginnings, you can actually develop your team. You can actually develop your team to where you want it to be, because we've read the stories of Cape Verde. I think Cape Verde and Equatorial Guinea as well, and Mali as well. I think Mali is also an interesting story, that the FA, after losing so many of those cup finals, actually went back and built themselves a new clubhouse and started developing players from the age of 16, but now that's so getting a balanced meal, getting the trainings that they deserve, and developing them to the players that we saw in the tournament. Hence, Mali made it as well to the top 4 of this year's tournament, and they were also one of the teams that were so impressive in this tournament. Bafana coming into this tournament where their own country did not support them. And I think credit to Hugo, credit to his technical team, credit to whoever was involved in the team, that they've made it that far. They made it to the semi-finals. We were almost bokusele kancane to make it to the final, but it wasn't meant to be. And I just want to say to them that pick yourselves up, dust yourself, and look forward to the World Cup qualifiers. We still have Nigeria there. Maybe we'll take our revenge from them. We still have them home and away. And I think we can only build from here. I think lift your heads up, boys. you've done. I think we can only build from here. I think for me personally, Hugo Bruce must still keep his job and lead us to the next. Let it be our Moses and lead us to the promised land. And I think he's delivered in what he's been saying. And unfortunately, I was just speaking to the guys as well last week. Or it is unfortunate that he's not getting the support that he wants from the teams. He's not getting the support that he wants from the coaches, from the FA, from SAFA, from even from us as football lovers. I think he's been criticized from day one since that and in the job. And I've always maintained that I love Hugo Bruce because he speaks the truth. I think he's the first coach that we've had in a while, or he comes into the seat, Bafana coach, and tells it as it is. And he said, I think the first things that he said that actually got me interested in him, he said, and we've been saying this as soccer fans, just we've never actually had the stage to say it, but he said this is the first time that he sees a club owner also being a chairman of the league, and it is unusual. It never happens. Like in the top leagues of the world, you go there, it is never happening. It will never happen because he can have direct influence on his team. Recently, we've just learned Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs has just secured themselves another sponsor, SuperSport Bet. Teams are struggling to keep the team afloat. We've seen what happened to Morocco Swallows now. 23 players were let go. And it's not because Barata to do that, but it's because they don't have the finances to finance the team. Whereas they had a sponsor coming on board, which was Telkom, and it was declined by the league. Conflict of interest was mentioned, and you could see it. Anyway, we're not there to talk about that. We are here to talk about the Afcon, and yeah, it was a good tournament. And then Nigeria also held their own, unbeaten until the final, almost beaten by Bafana, and the keeper almost got the keeper of the tournament. Unfortunately, Rowan Williams was one of the best. For me, he was one of the best keepers in the tournament. Ivory Coast came from nowhere. Not even nowhere. Came from, like, they were resurrected. I think that's a good way of putting it. They were resurrected. Ivory Coast were dead and buried. They only made it to the round of 16 because of being third placed. And because I think it was Zambia, if I'm not mistaken, it was Zambia that scored a late goal with the team they were playing against. That automatically put Ivory Coast as the third best team. They fired their coach. They fired their coach. They got an interim coach, and that coach from that day, I think I don't know what he said to those players. It must have been something motivational enough for them to come back the way they did. If you look at their road to the final, they equalized in the 90 minutes. They won the match in the 90 plus minutes. They had that never give up mentality. And I think what that caretaker coach, if I would like to call him that, whatever he did, he gave them that never die attitude. He gave them that, guys, we are host country. Supporters are here. Our families are watching us. We should never let them down, and we should never give up. And that's what we saw from them. If you look at the last game, group match, I think Frank Cassia and someone in the middle of the park there, they were fighting amongst themselves. You could see there was no longer a unity in the team. But once that coach came in, I think he brought that unity back. I think he brought that family mentality back into the team, and I think it worked for them wonders. Hence, we saw them winning and lifting that cup. A story that is also well known. Mulfatsing Sebastian Haller, 2022, he suffered from cancer, and he beat cancer, and now to score in the final of Afcon. I think it's a beautiful story. It's a story that will motivate any other person to be there. Obviously, we're not taking away from Cape Verde, the quarterfinalists. They played their part to be there. DR Congo as well in the semi-final against Ivory Coast, and also they gave South Africa a run for their money in that third place off. So a beautiful tournament that we've seen. We've seen so many goals. I think Patrice Motsepe, when he said, or Dr. Patrice Motsepe, when he first gave his speech in the opening ceremony, he said, I want to make this the best Afcon you've ever seen, and I think it lived up to expectations. I think it prophesied, and what we saw, the pitches were well, the pitches were nicely. No one is complaining about it, and I have to give, every time I sit here on my chair and I criticize VAR, but I have to give it up for VAR Afcon. I think the VAR Afcon for me was well used, was well utilized. Obviously, it will never be 100% accurate, but for me, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think it worked beautifully. I think it did what it was invented to do, and it worked. And I think it shows us that VAR can actually work. If it has the right people, it can actually work. So other teams, other leagues, please guys, fix your VAR. VAR works. The problem is not the VAR. The problem is the personnel. That's it. I think the referees also, we have to give it up to them. I think they also performed and to a beautiful event, to a beautiful tournament that was. And thank you, Ivory Coast, for hosting us. Thank you, Ivory Coast, for being a good host and giving us one of the best tournament. For me, the best I've ever seen. I don't know how old you are, but the best. Let me know as well. Comment in the comment section if you think this was the best Afcon we've seen. Let me know as well, what are your reviews for the tournament? Who were your favorites and what happened to your favorites? And lastly but not last, I would like to say to Rowan Williams, Ntobi Mvala, Grand Kekana, Aubrey Mudiba, Mudau, Yaya Sithole, Tebo Mukwena, Pesi Tao, Tembazwane, Evidence Makopa, Tapelo Murena, Hugo Bruce and your technical team. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I know I'm not speaking alone. I'm speaking on behalf of the millions and millions of South African fans. And as we welcome you back today, always remember, you are heroes.